My name is Samuel Njuguna. I work in UN Habitat at the Policy, Legislation and Governance section. I have over 5 years of experience in providing advisory services and technical assistance to member states and local authorities in the areas of urban law, human rights, environmental management, and urban governance. I'll be providing you with an outline of the topic. So in terms of structure, I will provide a brief introduction on what we mean by inclusive governance with a focus on health equity and climate action. So I know you're wondering, what is inclusive governance? As has already been mentioned by Ms. Anne Amin's lecture, at its best, urban governance ensures that all urban residents reap the benefits of urbanization. The process should be outcome-oriented and promote the civil, political, as well as the social, economic, and cultural rights of all urban residents. An inclusive urban governance system is, number one, participatory, consensus-oriented, accountable, transparent, responsive, efficient, and equitable. So what this means is that, for example, public misconduct and corruption is minimized. The process should also ensure that the views of minority are considered and that the voices of the most vulnerable in society are heard in decision making, and that is very important. Finally, the process itself should be responsive to the present and future needs of society, which are all factored within the international norms such as the Sustainable Development Goals and the New Urban Agenda. So this is very crucial. So let us now discuss the key aspects focusing on health equity and climate action. So let's have a closer look at that. I will start with health. In relation to health, health crises generally have significant impacts on community health, loss of life, and on the economy. We have seen this vividly during the COVID-19 pandemic, especially in urban areas which were and still are the epicenters of the crisis, accounting for most of the confirmed COVID-19 cases. Let's look more closely from an economic standpoint. GDP growth globally has been on a steady decline, unfortunately. For instance, in Africa, the average GDP growth fell from 3.2% in 2020 to 1.8% in 2022. So this all goes to show the importance of health equity, which means ensuring that no one is unfairly disadvantaged from achieving their full health potential. I know you're wondering, what are the principles to eliminate health inequities? There are 4 principles that cities and countries should focus on. Number 1, availability. This means the need for enough functioning public healthcare facilities, goods, and services. Number 2, accessibility. Health facilities must be accessible to everyone. This consists of non-discrimination, physical accessibility, economic accessibility, which means affordability, and the last one, information accessibility. The third principle is acceptability. This means having a people-centered approach that can cater for the diverse needs of the different population groups in our society. And then the last one, and the most obvious, is quality, ensuring that facilities, goods, and services are scientifically and medically approved. So to sum up this discussion on health equity, research such as the UN Habitat Guide on Leveraging Multi-Level Governance for Health Equity, which I'm proud to say that I'm the author, recognizes the crucial role that governance can play for inclusive and healthy urban spaces. This can be done through a multi-level coordination approach, which means all actors, state and non-state actors, jointly working together to integrate the complex spatial, economic, and social dimensions of urban development. So as I said before, we'll be looking at health equity and climate action. So now let's look closely at climate change, which really is the defining issue of our time, given that man-made activities are, number 1, influencing weather patterns, while natural resources such as land are coming under threat, given the intensity and occurrences of natural hazards. Let me give you some statistics. Indeed, by 2030, 116 million people in Africa are expected to be exposed to sea level rise. In fact, High water stress is estimated to affect about 250 million people in Africa and displace up to 700 million people by 2030. This is worsened by the fact that the continent has inadequate early warning sign systems. What can cities and countries do to mitigate the effects of climate change? An effective response to climate change, both adaptation and mitigation, requires deliberate and sustained action from both state and non-state actors that is anchored in the domestic implementation of the Paris Agreement. Research, such as the Habitat publication on multi-level governance for effective climate action in the global south, shows that urban law and governance have an important role to play in increasing cities' resilience and in reducing emissions. You're asking why? This is because law defines urban forms and sets the expected parameters for governance, which means the parameters for local governments and communities to fulfill their mandate and react to emerging challenges such as climate change. I want to sum up the discussion through some concluding remarks. So this topic has demonstrated that inclusive governance requires cities and governments to move away from silo-based governance practices to multi-level governance structures built around horizontal and vertical cooperation. So this is what we call whole of government and whole of civil society approach. This lecture has also shown that public participation is a key aspect on inclusivity, especially if it's meaningful, active, and free, meaning that all the people in the country or in the city, including priority groups such as women, children, youth, elderly, persons with disabilities, etc., have a say in matters that affect them. To build back better and address the pressing needs that I have discussed in this lecture, such as health pandemics and climate change, it is paramount to further advance digital governance, which can enhance transparency and accountability, including the effective sharing of information between all levels of government.